Hey, everybody, this is Caesar with the Local Service Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about 3 reasons why your Google ads aren't working. So, how do I put this? There's a lot, it's reading between the lines. So, I'll talk to clients, I'll talk to customers who are running ads. Either they ran ads themselves or we're running ads for them. Or it's actually most of the time this happens during the sales process for us, and they're saying things without that I'm understanding, and and I can read between the lines, right? So, for instance, this is so common, by the way, is like the client has been burned. The client being a local service-based business, they have been burned by other marketing companies, and they think that and they exist, right? There are agencies that are scammers, or agencies that didn't pay attention, or agencies that didn't ever provide any results. And I will always ask, like, oh, okay, well, what did they do? What kind of ads did they run? What was the budget? What area? Where did they run the ads to specifically? Was it a landing page? Was it a website? Did you get any data from it? Did you have any tracking on it? Ask all the questions that you would normally figure out how ads performed. And most of the time, which is a red flag in my opinion, is the ads were set up right. And I do this a lot, actually. I'll do a consultation sometimes when I hear that story, like, hey, I've ran ads before, they didn't work. I'm curious to see if your company can do a better job. Where do we go from here? And I'll actually always do a free audit. So far, as of 2022, we do free audits sometimes for certain companies because you don't want to, personally, I don't want to get my company involved with a situation that can't be helped. So, for instance, let's say I look into a campaign and the campaign is set up perfectly. The copy is good, the keywords are good, the search terms are coming good, it's a good budget, it's in the right area, it's in the right location, it's getting good traffic, it's getting good conversions even. And if the customer's coming to me and saying, like, hey, this is performing badly, and I look at it and I'm like, well, there's not much I can do here, or not much we can do here. We can make some tweaks, but the overall foundation of the campaign, it's good. That's one scenario. The other scenario is I look in there, I do the audit, and I see, holy crap, this is pretty bad. And even just by going in here and making changes to the current campaigns, we're going to improve your account by a lot. We're going to not waste as money. We're not going to waste not as much money. We're going to have much better keywords. We're going to clean it up with negative keywords just on the existing account. And when we go in there and create our own campaigns based off of our best practices, your campaign is going to do ridiculously better than it was now. Because most of the time when campaigns are set up bad, they're actually just money wasters. Like, there is no benefit to running them. You're honestly most likely better off just not running them than running them. And so those are the two scenarios. Okay, I look at these accounts, I audit them, and what I want to cover today is, well, what are those things that are happening that a client doesn't see? And I would like to shed some light on, there are things that need to be done before you can run ads, okay? What's a good analogy here? Okay, let's say you want to deadlift 405 pounds, right? Like, before you can do that, you got to be able to deadlift 135. You got to be able to do 225 safely, right? You got to have the proper attire, the proper clothes. You got to have a gym to go to. You got to have a membership. You got to have the proper diet, right? Like, you just don't skip all those steps. You have to go through that. Let's do one more analogy. Let's say you want to run a marathon, right? Before you run a marathon, you should probably have a good set of shoes. You should probably be able to do 3 miles. You should probably be able to do 10 miles. You should probably understand where you're running. Like, where is it that you're going to train? You should probably be training 4 to 6 times a week. You should probably be well informed on the proper running. So there's a lot of things that you have to have set up before you run that marathon. And so, while those are fitness analogies, this is a digital marketing / Google Ads marketing situation where it's not fitness, but it's stuff, right? Internet stuff that you have ready. So let's dig into the 3 reasons your ads aren't working. So number 1, and these aren't in any order, they're just 3 that I thought about. So, and there's way more than this, by the way, but the three that I thought about here are number one is your website slash landing page. So a common scenario is somebody comes, a local service-based business comes and says, "Hey, I want to run ads." Actually, they don't even say that. They say, "I want to get leads. I want to get more customers for my business." Let's call it I had a transmission shop call it today, and let's use that as an example. So they're a 3-location transmission shop, and they want to get more customers specifically for one of their locations here in Houston. And they're like, "Yeah, what can we do to get more customers?" And I mentioned, "Okay, well, do you have a website?" That's like the first question I asked. "Well, do you have a website?" And they're like, "Well, no, we don't have a website." And I was like, "Okay." So I pitched them that we need to have a website or at least a landing page before we can run any ads. And my suggestion usually is to run Google ads and the person has been running Facebook, Instagram ads, and they're not working. Again, this is such a common scenario. And I say, okay, look, the reason we want to do Google search ads is because if somebody looks up transmission shop near me, that means in that moment, right then and there, in your area, somebody needs some transmission work. I don't know what type of work, but they do need some transmission work. And so in order to properly communicate the services that you do, the cost, where they can call you, where they can find you, where they can email you, where they can see work that you've done, where they can see your team, and all that stuff that falls under the website category, before you can do any of that, you have to have a place where you can have that data. And you can't just run ads to nowhere. I mean, you can, right? There's call-only ads, and they work, but they're not going to portray the full story of what it is that you do. So sure, let's say you're a tow truck company and you can run call-only ads because for that scenario, people are just going to click the first phone number they see if you have the call extension on your ad. But even then, that's just that's half a solution. The full solution is provide the customer with an ad when they look their keyword up. Provide the customer with all the ad extensions, yes. But if a person is going to want to research and look, okay, what's the best transmission shop near me? Let me do some pricing digging. Let me see what's available. A lot of times, literally, every time there's a click, that means someone's going to your website. And if there is no website to go to, how is it that you expect that an ad is going to be effective? Okay. And to add just one more story to that, I've ran campaigns for, look, if people want to pay the money to have this program, and I do my suggestions, like say, hey, look, yes, you have a website, it's pretty bad, and the person decides not to upgrade it or to fix it or anything, or what's worse, I've actually had it where people don't even have access to their website, right? A previous person built the site, but they don't want to spend the money to update it, or they don't have access to update it. I've had it where the person has passed away, so they don't know what to do. So anyways, so even not having access to the website, sometimes people still run the ads. And look, we're a business too. We're going to run the ads, even though we'll say, hey, they're not going to be as effective, okay? And so when you have a website, I know I didn't fully close that loop there, but when you have a website, that gives you the maximum opportunity to give the potential customer all the information they need, okay? So on the homepage, you can say, this is what we do. You can have pictures of this is what we do. You have, this is where you can call. You can get a free consultation. You can get a free estimate. Here's some work that we done, right? You can have that. Then on the about, you can have about you. On services, you can have all the different services that you offer, because they might be looking for one service, and if they don't see it there, they're not going to call. If they see, oh, by the way, they also do this type of service, great, I can get both things done here. Right? You can package the different services together. You want to have a contact us page or a book now page, so that if a person is ready to call you or is ready to submit a form to get a callback, it's there. And home, about, services, contact. And then lastly, I think it's always good to have at least 5 navigation menus, is like recent work or gallery, or happy customers, testimonials, things like that, just to show, hey, look, we've helped other people in the Houston area. So really what you're doing is you're taking a person who doesn't know you at all, and you're giving them an idea of what it is that you offer. Like, hey, look, here's all the stuff we've done. Does this further make your decision easier, right? Like, without actually saying that, you're saying, like, look, come look at all this stuff, And if all this stuff answers your questions or brings you closer to giving us a call, then call us. And that's the idea behind a website. Like, that's why people have websites. And what I'm getting at is, if, number one, you don't have a website and you're running ads, it's going to be a lot harder to convert, to get calls. We call them conversions in the back end side. But like, to get a phone call, to get a form lead, if you do not have a website, it's even a little fishy. Like, go look at restaurants that don't have websites. You usually will be like, huh, that's interesting, they have a website. And what their website will be like a Facebook page. And I mean, I know some people don't care that much about to have a website for their business, but if you're trying to optimize and be the most efficient with your, not just online, but like you're spending actual dollars on it, then it's part of the process to have a website, just to have a website, right? It doesn't have to be a full blown out website, like, a 5 to 7 page or a 20 page website that's SEO'd out and has, professional videos and photography and content writing. It doesn't have to be all that, but it has to be something that's good, so that when people see it, they don't say, hey, this thing doesn't work at all, or this thing doesn't load. It has to be, what's the word I'm looking for? It has to be not fluent, but it has to be good. Okay, it can't be good enough. It needs to be good, so that the website itself isn't a distraction. It's okay, I'm on here and they offer these services. All right, this looks good. I like the prices. All right, let me shoot them an email to see if they call me back. That's what it should do. And just a couple more things on that is, so that's like the general idea of a website, but some specific things that even if you have a website that hurts your ads, is number one, bad info. So a lot of times people will list services on their site that they don't actually want to offer, or that they discontinued offering, and they'll get calls for that. And then, from my experience, I've heard, clients will tell me like, hey, yeah, I'm getting a lot of calls for A service, but we really want more of C service. And it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then let's remove it from the site, because if you have it on the site, then you're telling people you do it. And it only makes sense that that's why they would call, if that's what they wanted. And the clients would come back and say, well, no, we want to keep it there because we make a little bit of money off it, but we don't want it to be like the main thing. So then I'll come back and say, okay, well, if that's not something you want to offer, we shouldn't have it as a keyword in the Google Ads campaign. And then it'll go back and forth. Oh, well, you know what? We do make a little bit of money off of it. So let's go ahead and leave it. So, but at the end of the campaign, we can say is like, okay, hey, yeah, we did get calls and people did come in, but it was for this service and we didn't really want that. And so the idea, what I'm getting at, is that if you have information that is wrong or incorrect or not your primary focus, either don't include it in the ads or don't include it on the website. But if it's on the ads and the website, then of course somebody who's looking for something that's on the ads and gets to it on the website, they're like, oh, okay, this person does it. That's having bad info, incorrect info. So point number 2 is bad design. Like, just plain and simple, if it is poorly designed and the navigation's on the left-hand side and the header is like half the whole page, and the picture has like the left-hand side of the person, and you can't scroll down and you can't copy anything. When you click one button, it doesn't do anything. If it is like that bad, people are just gonna go back. So you got the ad click, right? So somebody clicked on your ad for transmission shop near me, but once they got to your site, they saw freaking a monster of a site, and they were like, oh, get me out of here, and they're just gonna go to the next one. Like, it's that plain and simple. And design these days, like, I don't see how you get that wrong. Like, that every website, just about, especially in the local services area, they're all clones of each other. It's all the same but different. Like, it's all the same thing but slightly different, right? They're all gonna have a home, an about, a services, a contact, a gallery, testimonials, something like that, right? Results. They're going to have that kind of layout. It's going to be horizontal. It's going to have a main homepage banner. It's going to have a section with services. It's going to have a contact us now page and area on the bottom. It's probably going to have a map. So like, just like clothes. Like, clothes can be big, little, blue, pink, tank tops, button ups. They're all shirts. Same with short. Like, yes, they're different shirts, but they're shirts. Same thing with the website. Like, design should not be that difficult. So watch who you hire. I can understand if like you're doing, if a person is doing it themselves, like that's just something you got to learn and go through it. But Okay, that's enough about design. Another thing is like bad load time. So if you have a bad hosting plan, or for whatever reason, your website's like getting over, there's too much data on it, and it takes 30 seconds for it to load, then it's like, okay, you got the ad click, but because it took 30 seconds to load, the person just backed out and went to the next site. That's a big deal, actually, right? Like, hey, my ads aren't working. No, the ads are getting the clicks, and it can even be that you have all the right information on your site, but if the website takes forever to load, then what? You know what I mean? Two more. It's not mobile responsive, so remember that there's a desktop version, there's a tablet version, and there's a mobile version. Most of your clicks these days are going to come from mobile, and if your mobile site is just not mobile responsive, then that means the person searching on their phone is getting a terrible experience, and it gives you the same result. They're just going to back out and go somewhere else. Or if it crashes, right? Like they might go and it loads forever, it crashes. And lastly, like just general bad info, right? So if your phone number is off, right? Like it's the wrong number, then the ad is not that the ad's not working. It's that they're calling the wrong number because it's the wrong one on there. Or it could be that the email on the forms is going to the wrong email, or the email's not working, or the email inbox is full. And so these are all things that need to be checked before before you run your ads, because it'll get you people. Like, not always, but people will go to your website if you run ads, especially Google ads, because it's there most of the time. With a decent budget, you'll get clicks. So that is reason number one why your Google ads aren't working. So let's move on to Google reason number two. So reason number two, we actually are going to take a step away from all the digital marketing assets, all the online assets. So your website, your ads, your content online, your videos, all that. And we're going to go back to the real world, because this happens quite often as well. So, a client or a local business will come and say, hey, we're getting calls from the ads, but nothing's converting, no one's coming in. This is the ads aren't working. And then sometimes it's true, like not always. It's not always like that. The ads are 100%. That is true. But what does happen a lot, I notice, is that the sales process isn't fully figured out, and it's definitely not fully, how can I put this? It's not fully optimized. It hasn't been looked at enough to where you know what to say for the basic scenarios that happen. So for instance, number one is the services, right? So like if somebody calls and you don't offer a certain service, that goes back to the website one. That means that the information that they got, or the information that's on Google Ads, is wrong. It needs to be fixed. So don't promote things that you don't want calls for. Second is, if somebody calls, this happens a lot too. If somebody calls from the ad, or went to the website and then calls, and nobody picks up, or the phone rings for like 4 minutes before somebody picks up, then it's like, okay, look, the ad did work, but nobody picked up. So it's like, yeah, we can make the phone ring, but if it takes 4 minutes for somebody to pick up, then either we got to change our hours to when someone can be available, or we need to put it make the schedule shorter, right? Like 8 to 12, because that's when the phones can be answered. There's workarounds, right? Like there's a back and forth that happens between the ads and the business to make it all work out. And this, I kind of been talking in agency client mode, but this can be local business ads mode. Like that's really the scenario we're in. Okay. And then also just like bad customer service. If somebody calls or somebody sends a form submission and they take, the business takes, 6 days to respond, or they don't answer the person's question, or they get to them but an incomplete answer, then it's like, okay, well, the process of dealing with that business wasn't good enough to keep the potential customer going forward. So like something happened where the customer was like, no, these people are rude, or these hours don't make sense to me, or I called them and they didn't call me back. or they didn't have the services that I initially looked up, even though it's on their site, and that's how I found them on Google. So that would be the reason number two. I'll keep it short. So that's like whatever happens in the real world. When somebody calls, when somebody submits a form, do we have that process that, which is huge? Like if you think about like a dental office, like the amount of things that happen to get somebody in is, I think, a lot, right? Like you have a front desk, you have like the file management, you have like the text messaging reminders, you have the follow up call, like, hey, your appointment's next tomorrow, or hey, the insurance checking, all that. Like there's a lot that has to happen, even if the person booked online for booked an appointment via online at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. And if all that stuff doesn't get done, the person goes and they're like, hey, this was a bad experience, I'm out. Cool. So reason number three, and our final reason, which is honestly like 800 reasons, but we're just grouping it into one, is going to be wrong targeting. So on your Google Ads, you can set it up. By the way, beyond the most obvious why reasons your ads aren't working, this would be because the ads themselves really aren't working. I think the first two are more like you're missing some part of the process, like the website, it's not fully done. So that process, that chain breaks right there. The sales process is, that chain breaks when it moves from online to physical. And this reason number three is the ads themselves are not working. So this is actually your ads are not working. And these are some reasons they're not. So number one is, again, this is reason number three, sub bullet point one, is wrong targeting. So even sometimes I've seen that even if your ads are not the best setup, so they don't have good headlines, the descriptions aren't all that, the keywords aren't even that relevant, but it's targeting the right place, right? Like you're in the 5-mile radius of Houston, you are loosely getting the right keywords. You can still get calls from that. Like you're shooting the dart in the right direction, and you're not getting the bullseye, but you're still getting on pretty often. So when that happens, usually, I mean, that's pretty big error. If you target the whole United States, or if you're in Texas but you are targeting California for whatever reason, that's one actual like location area that you can get wrong. Another way to incorrectly target is if you're targeting the wrong keywords, which is more common than not. Then the first one actually is you are transmission shop near me, but you let it go. You do broad match and you let it go wherever it goes. And it might be transmission school, how to change my own transmission, how does a transmission work, places that repair my transmission. Let's say they're not a repair one. Transmission shop jobs, transmission shop that buys oil or something like that. Like those are the ones that are going to those keywords are going to make it's the wrong target. You're targeting the wrong people, because what you want is transmission shop near me, and you're getting how to change my own transmission. And that's the problem sometimes with running like broad match or phrase match, is that you'll get stuff that you don't really want. And if you're not keeping a close eye on the search terms, you're getting the wrong people. Okay. That actually is like the essence of Google Ads, if I had to explain it in a nutshell and how it works and why it's effective. Because if you do get transmission shop near me and you are targeting a 5-mile radius around your shop, and you're getting 50 clicks a day and 10 conversions, and they're calling and submitting, it's like, okay, that's a successful campaign. That is good. But more cases than that, there's the keywords that are getting the most activity and conversions are ones that aren't productive. They're not helping you get more customers. They're just spending your money. Actually brings me to another point. It's like I read this book, The Goal, which apparently every person in the world has read that has ever, started a business. And I just read it like this year. Is that it was just one line. It says like productivity is getting closer to. The question was, what is productivity? And then there's like a long, like 3-chapter story of the people trying to figure out what productivity is, and the guy who ended up knowing, which is like the Yoda of the book, is productivity is whatever gets you closer to your goal, and everything else, non-productivity, what's not productive, is everything that takes you away from your goal. So if your ads are getting you closer to getting that person to call, it's the right thing. If your Google Ads campaign is not doing that, like whatever is not doing that, that means it's waste. It's ineffective. It's inefficient. It's just not good. So anytime you're making decisions on your campaign, your ads, your copy, your website, your sales process, and in person, if it gets you closer to getting a new customer, right? With the idea of that's the goal, that's the objective, because there's other objectives, right? This is just one of them. Getting a new customer, if it does that, then it's productive. So, a quick side story. Some other reasons your ads aren't working is sometimes it's just extremely competitive, right? So, like what I've seen in the law area is that it's very pricey. Like for one click, you might spend $70, $80, $90. And if you're a new law firm that hasn't, that you don't have a big enough budget, because let's say even if your budget's $100 a day, and you get you only have enough money for one click because the clicks are costing $70, $80, $90, and if your budget's $100 a day, well, you tap out pretty fast. And for that, you need a different strategy, right? Like you need a different approach if your ad budget just isn't there. But in this case, you just won't get enough activity. In this case, they're not working. Some things you can do is like you can switch languages, you can go broader, you can go with longer tail keywords and just exact match those. You can try doing like a competitor type of a campaign where you rather come up for your competitors because it's actually less costly than to go after the exact keyword, like personal injury lawyer near me. You can also expand it to be in search partners, so you're not always on Google search, but you're going to be in the whatever search partner options are available. There's ways to think creatively for that, but sometimes it is that the budget is too small. Back to the keyword ones, like they're too broad. Sometimes you include every possible keyword that could be related to transmission shop, right? And it's just A, not necessary. And B, it's just it's so many keywords that you end up getting more of what you don't want than of the clicks that you do want. and that's not good. That's not productive. Then lastly, before we wrap this episode up, is there are some times when people run ads or businesses run ads that I've seen that they're like, hey, why aren't my ads working? And they're like extremely, not pleasant to work with. And you look online and they have, out of the 50 reviews, 30 of them are like 1 or 2 stars. And that's just having a bad reputation. Like if you go online, and this happens a little bit more, I think, with restaurants, because, people are easy to go leave reviews when they've had a bad experience. And they're like, hey, nobody's coming to my restaurant. And then you look online and it's like, oh, well, you guys kind of have a lot of bad reviews. To fix, you can get more reviews so that it, if you have 20 bad ones and 30 good ones, if you get 100 more good ones, then the 20 bad ones aren't going to seem so big. Your average rating is going to go up. But more importantly, B is maybe we can stop being so rude to customers. Maybe we can, we can give them warm food or whatever the problem is that the reviews are complaining about. Like if you have a bad reputation, that's no ad and no good website and no good sales process is going to fix that, because that's pretty bad. Like you don't want to have bad reviews, bad reputation, because that means you are you have bad reputation. And then lastly, and this one's pretty unfortunate, but I've seen it happen a couple of times, is you're just in a bad area. So you could have a great place, a great service, but if the people that you service aren't close to that area, or you're in a very rural area, they're just, they're not going to make the trip to get there. Version 1. Version 2 is you're in a bad area as far as like, it's just not the place to be. Like it's a dangerous place, or it's a really old building, or it's hard to find. It's hard to get in. Like I've had clients that are in the mall, and so it's hard for people to actually park their car and get in, because they have to go through like a huge directory of, okay, well, where is this dental office, or whatever can be found in the mall. And that is 3 reasons why your Google ads could not be working. So yep, that's it. Peace out. If you have any questions, let me know. Peace.